Welcome to the Property Mindset Podcast, where I'm Emma Howitt, mentor, investor, and your guide to building wealth, freedom, and personal transformation through property. Property isn't just about bricks and mortar, it's about building the life you truly desire. And in this space, we don't just talk strategy, we dive deep into mindset. This is something that I found is often missing in other industries, but it's been a genuine game changer for me in this professional property circles. So today I am going to be talking about the power of responsibility in creating property success. Let's turn dreams into actions and actions into success. So I really believe that for many of us, taking responsibility for our property success is really hard. And depending on how you've grown up, what friends you were with, you'll either be a person that's grown up with a lot of blame, a lot of it being everyone else's fault, people seeing bad in other people, or maybe you come from a scenario where people really see the good in people. They are always finding solutions. They are always taking responsibility. And depending on where we're at, then this is a great thing to take responsibility. But it isn't always easy. And I would say that there are obviously times when we may take responsibility, and equally there'll be times when we don't take responsibility. But this is an amazing quote from Oprah Winfrey. And if anyone knows Oprah's story, she had a very horrific upbringing, abuse, terrible situations. But her quote is, "You are responsible for your life. You can't keep blaming others for your dysfunction." Wow, that's really hard, isn't it? And that is so huge. And what happens is once we start blaming others, we tend to get a pity party, don't we? And I certainly do have times when I feel very sorry for myself. But it's how we respond to that. We are constantly having things thrown at us. And some people, you look at them, don't you? And you just think, wow, you are just so lucky. You just seem to breeze through life. You don't seem to have any problems. But that's what we're seeing. It's a bit like the swan, gliding through the water and its legs, kicking away underneath. That's the situation. Successful people, people that look like they're really lucky, are actually just taking responsibility. They're dealing with the stuff that hits them, and they're not blaming everyone else, because it's the people that blame everyone else are the ones that we hear. They're telling everyone about it. And what happens with that is, if we don't take control, we're basically just giving away our control, our power, and it makes us feel really helpless. It's a really horrible position to be in. You can either have ownership or you can blame. And it is so key that if you take that ownership, if you take that responsibility, you can at least look to change things, to take control of things, to do all of those things. But if you're blaming everyone else, then they're the ones with the power, they're the ones with the control, and you're left feeling desperate in certain cases. And that's certainly how I felt for many, many years around my mindset. I could not understand why I wasn't getting the same results that I wanted. And it was just constantly the wrong results. It wasn't saying that I didn't get results. Of course, I was pretty successful, but the really big results that I wanted, I wasn't getting them. And it just seemed to be a bit like banging my head against the wall, but I couldn't work out how to do things differently. And I think there was a certain amount of blame. In fact, I know there was a load of blame. It was my parents' fault. It was my situation's fault. It was every single thing, my kids' fault even. And once I started to take that responsibility, that's when I really have made massive step changes. Because let's be fair, there are things that happen to us that you think, how on earth could I have changed that? But it's how we respond to them as well. that gives us that ownership or enables us to blame. I'm now showing a iceberg. I've never seen a responsibility iceberg, and this is all about the cost of avoiding the responsibility. So one of the things at the top of the iceberg, what we can see, the tiny bit at the top, is the blame. So we're blaming others, we're having our pity party. You know, the estate agent was not very nice to me, my JV partner has dropped out at the last minute, the property's got subsidence unexpected, we can't find, I don't know, the lease extension's not going very well. So we're blaming everyone else. It's all everyone else's fault, nothing to do with me. But the hidden part of the iceberg, the really big part, is all about the missed opportunities. And I think this really shows. So there are people that I actually avoid because all they do is they moan about their situation. This is so terrible and this has happened to me. And it's time again. So it doesn't matter whatever the renovation is, whatever the deal that's going on, they always have massive problems. And you've got to ask yourself, are they having massive problems, or is it the same problems that we all have? They're just vocalizing us. They're just telling everyone else about it. And so therefore, there's going to be an effect of that. People are going to be looking at that scenario, looking at them. And if they also are pity party people, they'll love it. Because, likes attract like, don't they? So we can all go and have a pity party together and we can all talk about how terrible estate agents are. I do this a little bit, I have to say. How terrible, the property market is. All of these things. And you can all have your pity party together. But inherently, the people who are taking action, taking complete responsibility for what is happening to them, they're just getting things done. They're just getting out there, solving the problems, and therefore are completely open to opportunities. And this is something really huge. So it's a bit like a relationship breakup, isn't it? If you keep going back to that person, you are closed to new potential relationships, new opportunities. And it's exactly the same in property. The more we are in a state of blame, in a state of avoiding that responsibility, we're not even noticing the huge number of opportunities that are coming right past us, and really a time when we could jump on them, they're gone. We didn't even see them. So we have to sort of think about that and dig really deep. But often it can be much deeper seated things, why we might blame, why we might not take responsibility. And this is something that we have to read ourselves. We have to understand ourselves, because it could be masking something far deeper. It could be our fears, our doubts, things from our childhood, even things that have gone through generations. You have families that are inherently much more risk averse, aren't you? And you have families that are really gung-ho and they're base jumping all together and things like that. So it's not necessarily you. It could be a whole array of generational things. It could be what a teacher said to you when you were little. But inherently, we get to a certain age, and I've got kids that are, late teens. I'm trying to let them know, because obviously it's always mummy's fault. But I'm trying to let them know that you get to a certain age, and I'm sorry, all parents have ruined you in some way. I think all parents do their best with what they have. But you have to move forward and take responsibility for your life. And once you start doing that, again, suddenly you're able to seize these opportunities and move forward. So if you have got some deeper fears, deeper doubts, deeper issues, that's up to you again to take the responsibility to understand how these can move forward. So this is my favorite Stickman. So if anyone hasn't seen the Stickman, you'll see him in the show notes. I'll give you a link to the picture. But if you imagine a big circle at the top, a little line for the neck, a smaller circle at the bottom, and 4 little sticks hanging out, and that is your Stickman. And what most of us see, well, every day we work in pictures. So you talk about your property, you talk about the furniture inside it, you talk about the interior design, and you have got pictures that crop up in your mind. But we then talk about sorting out our mindset. And what is it? I mean, it might be a jumble of this, that, and the other. We don't have it as a picture. And this seemed really stupid to me when I first started to follow it. But actually, it's so, so key. It helps us to see how we can change. It gives us a formula. So you can see your top of your mind, so your conscious mind. So this is where we think, all our thoughts, and you have basically raw signals coming in, and we can put onto them what we choose. So some people, let's say a deal might come up, and let's say two people open Rightmove and a deal pops up, and one person, they'd just be thinking, oh, that's too big for me. I couldn't possibly do that. I'm not brave enough. I can't, that's just not me. And these two people are at the same journey, let's say, in property, same position, same experience. And another one could open up exactly the same, be receiving the same raw signals and think, you know what, I've never done anything like that before. But if I find the right partner and the right investment and the right mentorship, for instance, I think there's a jolly good chance I could do that. And so you can see that we place onto the thoughts what might be. And then in the lower half of our sort of head, or the representative picture, is your subconscious mind. And that's all about the feelings. And those are basically what run us. So under the radar, those are the things that somebody like pokes you and you explode, or a car pulls out in front of you. That's your deep-seated subconscious, and that's where you have to work really hard to make the big changes. And usually it's through massive repetition. And then obviously your actions through your body. So your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions give you your results. So this is a great formula, guys. If you're not getting the results that you want, actually sit down and go, okay, so what am I thinking? What am I feeling about this situation, this thing, what's happening? And what am I doing? What actions am I taking? What if I change the way I thought about it? So saying those raw signals. What about if I cut out? What about if I don't associate myself with the people who are in that pity party? How could I change that? How am I feeling? Because we've all woken up feeling tired, feeling miserable, whatever. But have you ever been able to just instantaneously change how you're feeling? Absolutely. Like I felt really like sad about something, and then somebody walks in and wow, it's amazing. You're so thrilled. It's the same with property. In a day, it can be a roller coaster, can't it? In the morning, you might open a few emails and there's some quite good news about potentially meeting up with an investor. And then at 11 o'clock, somebody calls you and the deal's fallen through. And then by 3 o'clock, somebody else has called you and another deal's gone through. So there's just so much that is being thrown at us. And we have the choice of how we think. And we can work really hard on how we feel. And we can definitely work on what actions we take to do that. So again, I thought this was a really crazy thing, but it is worth daily having a look at it and looking at your results and saying, well, what can I change to change my results? What do I need to change? So again, it's all about responsibility. So what can we actually do? So a bit like we just talked about with the Stickman, you can actually take an area in your property investing where you've been particularly bad in taking responsibility. Perhaps it's a relationship with builders. Perhaps, there's always massive things that go wrong. I mean, I had one very recently. The builder called me up and he said, we've taken up the floor, and oh my gosh, there was this big old long list of very dire sounding things. And at that stage, I didn't allow any kind of good or bad. I did have some terribly huge pound signs cropping up, thinking, oh my gosh, how much is this going to cost me? But actually, I was thinking there's just not that much I can do at the moment. Okay, I'm not going to blame the builder. He's just literally done his job. He's picked it up. But I could have blamed the builder. I did have small thoughts of that. Why didn't he see that before? He checked the property. Why didn't he see it? But then to me, it was kind of like we had both gone through the plan of anything we may not have seen. So I felt that wasn't really appropriate. And then it was all about, how can I take responsibility for this? So I went off and I got information. So I spoke to, building control. I spoke to a structural engineer, all of these things to try and understand. And then once I understood it, and then the biggest thing was for the builder, once we'd agreed what a remedial plan could be, he came back with an invoice. And oh my goodness, it was just nowhere near what I thought it could have been. So it was actually a relief. So that whole journey could have been totally different. And a few years ago, it would have been totally different. I would have told everyone how terrible it was and how awful this has happened to me. Why is it happening to me? Oh, poor me. But actually nowadays, it's completely changed. And it's so liberating to take that time to know that you do have control. And that's just really amazing. So do commit to sort of, reflecting on things that have gone well and things that haven't, and how you might change them next time. Because there is something about the ripple effect of responsibility. And Winston Churchill said, responsibility is the price of greatness. And that is huge. I'm going to say it again. Responsibility is the price of greatness. So there are so many things that happen to every single one of us. There is not one person, unless they're locked in a room away from anyone, who can get away with not having things happen to them. And it's how we react to them, how we deal with them. That is so, so key. And like if you imagine dropping a pebble into a calm pond, there are ripples that resonate out, aren't they? And by leaving that blame or leaving people not feeling great about a situation, blaming somebody else when perhaps it is their fault, but equally, what's the benefit of that? That ripple goes on and on and on. Now, do you want that ripple to go out positively, or will that ripple go out negatively? So think through that. So again, talking about looking at something in your journey and really reflecting on it. So is it a conversation? Is it a networking event where you're just really struggling to get the benefits of networking? Are you not getting the investment that you're looking for? So really look at it, what's happened, how have you responded to it, and what could you do differently? And these are things that are really key and important to help us grow and overcome things in the future. Because guess what? If we do the same old thing, we get the same old result, and we don't want that. So we really want to be growing. We want to be getting better. We want to be winning. We want to be getting our goals. So it's really key to look at things. And I'm a big fan of, when you have a problem, I find the solution, and then afterwards have a look and see how it could have been done differently. And that's a really, positive, healthy way to move forward. So responsibility should be empowering. It's not a burden. This is something that we can massively take forward. And I'm afraid to say, and I'm sorry, guys, but blaming everyone else is really what is holding you back. It's affecting you the most. If you own it, you are going to move forward. And do remember my favorite little stick man, your thoughts, feelings, and actions determine your results. So that is so incredibly powerful, isn't it? Taking that responsibility for everything that happens to you. And that is so challenging. I'm not saying it's easy at all, but the more we start to take that responsibility, your world will completely change. And remember, property isn't just about what you do, it's about how you think. And when you combine a strong strategy with an unstoppable mindset, there's no limit to what you can achieve. So reflect on today's episode. I've given you lots of opportunities to take some actions there, but commit to one and make sure you do it today, or certainly put it in your diary to do this week. And that will definitely help you move closer to your property goals. And if you know anyone who may benefit from this episode, please do share. And it could be a real game changer that they need. And then remember that the more we help people, the greater our own wealth in every sense of the word. So growing this community means growing the potential we all have to succeed together. And finally, your mindset is your greatest property. Keep building it.